right. Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to today's web event, today's web discussion. I'll even call it a web discovery and deep dive. We're going to keep with the D theme there. Really happy that you're joining us today for why HubSpot provides the best sales acceleration solution for Salesforce customers. I'm Doug Wendt. I am your host and the erstwhile cool background guy today. I got our little Wendt Partners background for you. In addition, I am joined by the amazing Mrudula Gadgil. Mrudula is a sales engineer and solutions superstar over at HubSpot. And we are honored to have her join us. This is the second time, Mrudula, that we've done a webinar together. Is that correct?
We have, yeah. This is our second time around. Super excited to have all of you join us today and talk about some of the sales acceleration updates that we've had in HubSpot, our great integration with Salesforce. So looking forward to digging into that.
Spectacular. Mrudula, thank you so much. So just a reminder to everybody, we're going to be recording this. We are recording this program. We'll share the recording out to everyone. So if you have colleagues who didn't get a chance to join you, you can share all the good information with them post-program. Again, I'm Doug Wendt, the president of Wendt Partners. We are a HubSpot elite solution partner that puts us in the top 0.5% of all HubSpot partners worldwide. I'm really, really honored that we've had this great journey together with the team at HubSpot. Thrilled that Mrudula is joining us today. The reason we are here is to unpack an interesting question, and that is, what are we trying to do with all this CRM software? You know, we call it customer relationship management, we call it CRM, but why? Why are we doing all this? It's not, this is not easy stuff to set up. We got to train people. We got to configure it. We got to migrate. There's all this work involved, right? So why do we use CRM software? And not every customer gives the same answer, but probably the most common answer we get is we're trying to use CRM software to drive sales. We want to use CRM software to make sure we don't miss opportunities, that we stay in touch with folks, that we stay on our game to ensure that every sales opportunity, whether it's a new one or a recurring one, whether it's with an existing account or a brand new prospect, that we stay on our A game as a company. With that in mind, it's very interesting, today's topic, why HubSpot provides the best sales acceleration solution for Salesforce customers, since Salesforce is a CRM platform, right? And so if you are purchasing a CRM primarily for the purpose of accelerating sales, what's important to consider is, what does it take to actually get the software to do that? Okay. Now, Salesforce has, a really strong installed base. It's an extraordinarily powerful platform. But interestingly enough, what we keep learning, because folks keep approaching us, and Mrudula, I'm curious what your experience has been. Folks keep starting conversations about, quote, now that I have Salesforce, or we for years have had Salesforce, ... Now we need a tool to help us focus on sales acceleration. Mrudula, is that what you're seeing out there? Are people asking similar questions to you and the HubSpotters directly?
I definitely have seen some situations where, just like you're describing, folks are utilizing Salesforce as kind of a source of truth for a lot of their data. It's connected to different parts of their tech stack. They're using it for a lot of end stage reporting, but they're really looking for something to upskill their SDRs, their AEs, give them a little bit more flexibility in terms of their day-to-day prospecting and outreach. And so a lot of folks will be using third-party tools and plugins, something like a SalesLoft or an Outreach.io. So certainly we've come across that more and more.
Absolutely. Yes. And you've opened up a fascinating topic. And specifically to the products that you mentioned, the two industry leaders in sales enablement and sales engagement in the Salesforce ecosystem have historically been Outreach.io and SalesLoft.com. Everybody on our webinar has probably investigated one or both of those tools. And so then the existential question is, okay, well, why do I need these tools? Okay, you need the tools because your Salesforce system is good at a lot of things. This is not one of them. Okay. And so I see overwhelmingly that when we talk to folks who are on Salesforce, they're either investigating these tools or they've already added these tools. Totally understandable. Of course, every CRM lives in an ecosystem of products and plugins that can help extend its capabilities. But in my view, sales enablement, sales engagement, these aren't This isn't the salt and pepper and the added spices to take the soup and make it really, really great. This is a core ingredient of the soup. This is like the chicken stock, okay? And what's fascinating is this has put HubSpot in a really interesting environment in which we're going to explore today. And that is increasingly, alongside the outreaches and the sales lofts, people are scratching their heads and saying, I've heard that HubSpot has a lot of sales enablement tools and a lot of sales acceleration tools built in. Maybe we should look at it. And so I'm going to make this suggestion to those joining us. You basically have three options. If you are in a Salesforce-centered environment, which again, we totally understand, you don't have to necessarily think of this as an either or. Okay, you can think of this as a both and. You've got three options, which we're going to explore in our use case demonstration and discussion today. Option one is if your salespeople are primarily like living in your email client, in your Gmail, your Outlook, et cetera, which overwhelmingly we hear the vast majority are, not every prospective client, but many. Guess what? You can have the power of HubSpot basically as your sales enablement platform while you're living in your inbox. So now we've added HubSpot to your stack. We're doing all the sales enablement you need, and you don't have to really worry about your users working in two systems. Okay, that's pathway A. We'll be exploring that in a few minutes. Pathway B, increasingly, we're having clients say our AEs live in Salesforce. Our account executives, outside salespeople, depends on what industry you're from, what term you use, but the folks who are responsible for closing and maintaining accounts, typically those folks do live in Salesforce, okay? But where companies are really running into trouble is they're like our SDR and BDR teams, so sales development or business development reps, the people responsible for generating new leads. They're either doing cold email, cold phone calls, they might be doing warm outreach to marketing nurtured lead, MQLs. Okay, these folks need to do a lot of outreach activity, not a strong suit of Salesforce. What we're finding in that case is people are considering HubSpot as their SDR CRM and Salesforce as their AE CRM, which works extraordinarily well. And we've actually had clients flip in that direction as they've explored it further. The third option, of course, is just to say, hey, you know what, these guys with the orange sprocket over at HubSpot, there's a reason why they're headquartered in Boston, the brain capital of the country, and that's because they're really, really smart and they put together a platform that absolutely takes us where we need to go. And you can always just make the switch. So that is certainly an option, but increasingly what we're finding is clients are like, I don't know which of these to choose. Walk me through these options. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to give you the opportunity to explore how HubSpot can be that additional driving force in your Salesforce environment to optimize your ability to accelerate sales in your organization. Mrudula, any other thoughts before we dig in and have some fun here?
I'm ready to go. Let's get this demo on the road.
All right. So let me start with a little bit of background on like how HubSpot works and how that relates to sales acceleration. So I'm going to lead here with a little bit. So I'm going to focus on two things. Number one is just kind of key overview that everybody will need to understand how powerful and simple it is to use HubSpot and why it's so simple to add to the stack. And then second of all, I'm going to zero in on that SDR BDR use case. Then I'm going to hand it over to Mrudula, who's going to explore a number of the tools and updates that relate both to that use case and to that AE worldview. So let's start right here. We're looking at a contact record, okay? And this contact record, of course, living in the HubSpot system. HubSpot is very well structured to give you the best of both worlds. Those two worlds that I'm sort of implying. One is clean, non-cluttered user interface. And the other at the same time is give me lots of information where I need it. How do I get both? Okay. Typically your users have to choose between one or the other. In HubSpot, you don't. So just as a very brief navigational kind of introduction, HubSpot has a very clean, consistent screen design. As you'll see throughout this hour together, wherever you are in HubSpot, you're going to see a very similar flow. On the left is typically where we have all the different fields and information about this contact. So I can have as much or as little information here. What some clients do is they'll put all the BDR, SDR data specifically in certain sections. So actually at Wendt Partners, we have this. So we have the cold outreach program fields that's tied to the cold outreach campaign. We also have, for example, our contact research details. So we typically pull data from Zoom Info and Lead 411 and LinkedIn Sales Nav. Those are our three tools. So you'd have all that data here, but you can see I have it when I need it, but it's not cluttering my screen. And what I'm showing you, by the way, this information is also available without even going into HubSpot by using the sidecar or add-in in your Gmail or Outlook, as Mrudula will show you in a little bit. Okay, so it's really important to understand that we're able to work with a lot of information, but we're able to have it at the point of need. The other thing is these action buttons here, like if all I saw was just like this little spot right here, I don't know how this looks for everybody else, that probably made your screen explode. But if all I saw was these action buttons, I can pretty much do everything I need. And by the way, if you're interested in your AEs potentially using some or all of HubSpot, I just have to point out everything I'm talking about works seamlessly on our mobile app for iPhone and Android. In fact, I just got back from a week of travel and I was making calls, sending emails, etc., from inside HubSpot without having to do anything unique. I was able to do it right in the mobile app. So just to establish right at the outset, you can literally run all of your sales acceleration and sales enablement activities seamlessly from the HubSpot platform. I'm going to show you first at the human level, like the one-to-one. Then I'm going to show you some of the tools that will make this really operate on an accelerated level. So HubSpot supports inbound and outbound calling from the platform. We obviously also integrate with other systems like RingCentral, Zoom Phone, 8x8, etc. But you can run your entire calling program and calling effort right from inside HubSpot. You can email right from inside HubSpot. We'll come back to that. You can schedule meetings. And by the way, a recent update, you can also schedule meetings for other folks. So now you can select the calendar of the AE, let's say assigned. So pretend I'm an SDR, okay? And I want to select and say, I'm going to have this particular AE, let's say that it's Danielle, okay, who actually is an AE on our team. Now I'm looking at Danielle's calendar. I can schedule the call directly on her calendar, done. Okay, and this is seamlessly integrated with Outlook and with Google. Outlook, as well as Microsoft 365, because Microsoft has basically two platforms, and Google/Gmail, okay? So we can schedule meetings right from here for anyone in the sales organization. We can set up tasks and assign them and have repeating tasks. So think about this. I'm literally able to, like, just in this one screen, if I'm having a conversation or I get an email back from this person, I can call them. I can send a follow-up email. I can schedule a discovery call for my AE. I can set a task for the AE to prep for that call, and I can put it in a specific queue in the task management tool, which I'll be showing in a minute. I can set up notes in here. And by the way, you can tag someone in the notes. So you can say, hey, great, Danielle, here's the information from the intake form, discovery call intake form. Okay. And poor Danielle, who's not in this meeting because she's been doing something else, probably like, why did Doug just send me this note? By the way, while we're on that topic, I don't know about you all, but we're a huge Slack shop. Okay. And there is a seamless integration between HubSpot and Slack. So in addition to being able to run your SDR activities and acceleration inside HubSpot, you can send the notifications, you can create channels seamlessly from Slack. So now, you know, if I create a deal record from here, that deal record can not only help trigger what happens over in Salesforce.com, it can also send a notification to Slack and create a channel. So if you use a collaboration tool, we've got you covered. That's all seamlessly in here. And again, I've been doing all these different things. I haven't left these buttons. Like, I haven't had to go anywhere. It doesn't get easier than this. I didn't have to go to the drop downs. I didn't have to like go to a different screen because, oh, you have to do it from the account record, not the contact. None of that nonsense. Okay. SMS messaging, LinkedIn messaging, WhatsApp messaging. HubSpot recently rolled out a really powerful WhatsApp connector. I can log different kinds of communications. By the way, for your SDR team, if LinkedIn is a key part of the program, again, just absolutely mind-blowingly powerful. We have this built-in connector between the HubSpot system and LinkedIn, which allows you to link these records. In fact, it'll auto-link them based on LinkedIn search criteria to look at the email address, first name, last name, company, etc. It'll make the recommended match. You click a button to verify that match. Now I've got my icebreakers. I've got people who are connected between me and this other person. So I can say, I'm a first level connection with Peter. He knows Doug. Let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm in my LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I can ask for an introduction. So here we go. I'm literally right there with Peter, and I'm going to message him, and I'm off to the races. And I did this all without having to leave the platform. Seamless, instant, right on the money. Okay. There's also, if you're doing a lot of LinkedIn messaging, you can send InMail right from here. We also have a tool called Linked Hub, which allows you to synchronize your LinkedIn messaging flow into the activity record of your HubSpot contact record. And because of our connection with Salesforce, guess what? Boom, seamless. Across the board. So what's happening in LinkedIn comes into HubSpot. HubSpot shares that activity history with the contact over in Salesforce. Nobody is wondering what the heck is going on. They all have that information before them. This is literally, this little filter button is showing you all of what HubSpot can support in the background. Okay. All kinds of information is feeding into here. And it's amazingly powerful and amazingly simple at the same time. Now, we talked about that. I was going to discuss a little bit about the SDR use case. So there are a couple of different ways that sales teams typically run their sales development operation. Some of them run them on an account-based model where you select a particular group of companies that meet certain requirements. We'll select a particular list here, and those are assigned to a particular person, and then they work those accounts. Okay. By the way, we also have a tool here called Target Accounts, which allows you to actually look at complex, large enterprises. If your team primarily sells into large enterprises, we got you covered there. So we have a large enterprise tool called Target Accounts, which allows you to actually have multiple salespeople working on different divisions or units of the same enterprise, and you can see a global view of that. Or you can run a traditional company level target account list of your own down at the individual. What you can do here is then establish who these contacts are and create a list of them in our lists tool. And now the salesperson knows, the SDR, BDR knows exactly who they're supposed to reach out to. And from there, we find that salespeople are guided either one of two ways. Either it is, all right, I'm going to reach out to these folks who meet certain criteria. So maybe it is my MQLs. So this is actually a literal list of MQLs that are assigned to me. These are people who are highly engaged with our content and our marketing program. They meet our MQL conversion criteria. And now I need to reach out to these folks one by one. Okay. And so I can preview, I can begin my activity. I can reach out and start that calling or emailing activity one by one, working the contacts. The other approach, I'm just going to leave the screen here and I'm going to open another tab. The other approach is a task-based model. Okay. And one of the really powerful tools we have in the platform is our tasks tool. So in HubSpot, tasks can be manually assigned. They can be automated based on assigning a group of people, or they can be automated based on criteria. So we could literally automatically give an SDR a list of tasks to work today based specifically on these contacts meet MQL criteria, and then they're in our ICP, they're in the territory that the AEs you support are in. So therefore, these are high priority. And I could have that as my first tab, and I just start working through. And what's really great about our task process is it's like an iPod. Okay, or like your music app. I guess I dated myself saying iPod. Hello, Gen Xer here. I'm also on Facebook more than Instagram, so now you know I'm old. So let's say Spotify playlist instead. There I go. I welcomed myself to the 21st century. So instead of having to go through and work manually against these, I can just hit start 7 tasks. And you'll see that this blue bar appears at the top, right? And now I'm able to rock and roll through this list. So truly, by the way, literally, I just got the notification from Danielle in Slack saying, hey, you assigned me this task. What's up? So I'm saying demo for the webinar. No worries. I told you all it's real. That literally just happened. That's proof that I'm not making this up. This is real world, real time. So in this particular case, I can work this action right now. I can, call them, or I can reschedule this task or skip it. I'm just going to skip it for the purposes of today's demonstration. Now I'm working through my list. So if this were set up as a phone call, it would actually pop up the phone call screen. And I'm literally just sitting on my headset. I don't have to dial anybody. I don't have to go find any contact records. I don't have to change screens. I just hit great, click, call, click, call, click, call, or click email, or click whatever it is. Reach out on LinkedIn, email, follow up, however you want to do it. Okay. That is how easy it is to run tasks in the HubSpot system. One of the reasons it's easy is because we have this incredibly awesome tool called sequences. So sequences allows us to create a collection of actions, emails, phone calls, LinkedIn outreach, and other tasks, okay, for me to perform to build and engage in a particular relationship. I'm trying to get someone to engage with us in a conversation. They're in my target account list. I'm going to send them an email. So I'll create actually, let me go to an existing one here. So let's say in this particular example, okay, this is an example of an automated sequence. I have an email here. So I'm just going to open this up, and you can see what the options are. An automated email, a task to send a manual email, a call, a general task like maybe to perform account research during your research time, send an in-mail, send a connect request, okay? What the beauty of this is, and I'm just gonna open up one of these emails, is that the way the system is configured, all of the data in the database, whether it's in a company, or as you may have in your Salesforce system, lead and contact. In HubSpot, that's one record, it's a contact record, but we can maintain the delineation in our integration. So regardless, lead, contact, this particular person is associated with a company record, right? And there's all this other information we want to have. Our personalization tool allows you to reach into all of those different areas of the system. So the company record, the sender information, anything else, and you can build these email templates. And then you can also insert all kinds of additional components, sales documents, so we know that they reviewed the brochure that we sent, meeting links, videos, because we have built-in videos. So imagine here that your AE builds a library of maybe 5 short 30, 45-second videos for different sequences and different campaigns. Maybe each video is targeted a certain type of end user, or a certain type of use case, or a certain type of industry or ICP. Now the SDR runs them into the sequence. As those emails are going out, they're being followed up with task creation for the SDR. As the SDR performs the tasks, there's something else that's just absolutely amazing about how HubSpot works. And that is, because you're doing this in the HubSpot platform, you don't have to worry about your Calendly link over here, your Salesforce data over there. Geez, what happens if they reply back to the email thread? What happens if they book a meeting on my calendar or on my AE's calendar? Guess what? The sequence will automatically stop. HubSpot is smart enough to know that that's happening, and it will engage in pausing the sequence or stopping the sequence since we achieve the objective of the sequence, which is to get that discussion on deck. You can also use these sequences for follow-up. So for example, our SDRs and BDRs are required to maintain contact with the prospect and get that discovery call on deck. So if the prospect reschedules the first call, automatically the SDR is responsible and gets a task to begin working on the reschedule. All of that can be fully automated. So talk about sales enablement. What are the things that slow sales cycles down? Forgetting to follow up, forgetting to confirm a meeting, forgetting to double check that we've done all we can to reach out to this person. Maybe they wrote back with a question and we didn't get back to them in a timely manner with an answer. And by the way, we're going to discuss that with the prospect screen that Mrudula is going to pop up here in just a minute. So let's dig into some of those elements. Mrudula will also show us how this relates to the AE's world in Salesforce. We're also going to talk about living in your email client. And then I'm going to bring it back around and we'll talk about the calls and the playbooks, two of our superpowers for sales acceleration in HubSpot. Mrudula.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. You are always a tough act to follow up, but I have some exciting product updates and features that I think are going to be really interesting for folks. You likely haven't heard of these before because they are new, so I'm very excited to be demoing them to you today.
Awesome.
So a little bit on that email integration, one thing, a little bit of a joke that I like to make is there's two types of people, right? Those who love to live in their inbox and email out of there, and those who want to email out of HubSpot. I'm actually part of the former group. I live in my inbox, so having HubSpot tools extended to my Gmail inbox is so helpful for me day to day. So just to give you a quick sneak peek at an email creation from our HubSpot record right here, I've got Doug Wendt's record. HubSpot's automatically going to let me know a little bit of information about him on that contact record, like Doug showed just now. And it's super simple. I go ahead, most likely I'm going to use an email template, right? If I have pre-created templates with a subject line, email body, links attached, I can just choose a template and put it right into my email. That saves me so much time. If I'm prospecting, doing some kind of demo follow-up or feedback, I've already got this pre-formatted email ready to go out of the gate. Maybe it's got some personalization tokens. I can tweak and tailor it to the persona that I'm speaking to, add some details on our last meeting, and just get that ready to go. I can also go ahead and start up a sequence right from my email creation as well. So that sequencing tool is great for prospecting, doing some of that cold outreach, adding some of those documents and being able to track them in real time. Did somebody watch my video? Did they open up my PDF and give it a read through? If they didn't, I can go ahead and create a task to follow up, right? Just making sure we get that engagement, throw in my meeting link, as well as quotes, right? If we actually have a quote that we're working on for this deal, as an AE, I might want to embed that right into my email. So lots of great tools here. And of course, ultimately, all of this information gets logged back to that contact record. So I know exactly how we've communicated with Doug. From here, if I'm an SDR, I can of course create a task for follow-up. Maybe I'm going to send this task to my manager or an AE at this point. So lots of great tools. Maybe I want to add a little bit of knowledge base articles, right? If we're using HubSpot Service Hub, give them some additional information about our products and services. Lots of great features here. Now, going in from that email inbox perspective, we are a Google shop over here at HubSpot. So I've got my Gmail inbox connected, and this is really where I live, right? But we've got total parity between emailing within HubSpot and emailing out of Gmail or Outlook. So same thing here, I've got those email templates, meeting links, task creation, as well as adding any additional educational materials like the videos and documents. And then one thing I've got to do, it's a little bit tangential, but I got to call it out, is write an email for me. So HubSpot is doing a ton with artificial intelligence. So as an SDR or BDR, I'm sending a lot of the similar emails throughout the day. So maybe I want to go ahead and actually create a cold outreach email. What am I selling? SaaS marketing software. Who am I selling to? Let's say Chief Marketing Officer. And then a couple words about how I want this email to communicate. Let's say we're offering robust tools to automate your drip campaign, and let's say newsletters, social posting, whatever you want right here. Do I want to sound professional? Am I a little bit more of a witty persona? I can go ahead and indicate how I'd like this to sound, right? And then this is actually going to communicate with ChatGPT to generate an email for me. So this is a great way to get your newer SDRs or BDRs up and running with some cold outreach, take a little bit of time off of their plate and generate these really seamless, nicely formatted emails that you can just get up and running right away.
Wow.
So super cool tool.
I should stop writing emails. I'm done. That's it. The computer's smarter than me.
Yeah, so this is actually something that is so reflective of HubSpot. Our founder, Dharmesh Shah, he actually works behind the scenes and came out with a HubSpot virtual assistant. So combine your HubSpot portal with the power of ChatGPT. It can create emails for you. It can create records within your HubSpot portal, generate reports. This is just a little bit of what it can do. So if we ever want to have another webinar, Doug, that might be our next topic.
Sounds good to me. I'm thinking like as soon as possible. This is spectacular.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to go ahead and log and track my emails as well. I actually have this set up not to by default because I communicate internally so often, but you can have this set to log and track every email and maybe just exclude your internal contacts. So if you're chatting with other folks at Wendt partners, if I'm chatting with folks at HubSpot, I can exclude those from being logged, but I've got all those tools right within my email inbox as well. Drop in the chat if you're someone who likes to live in your email inbox or if you prefer your sales acceleration tool. I'd be curious to know that. And that brings us to our prospecting tool. So how did this come about? What was the reason for actually creating this? This is a pretty new feature to HubSpot. And the reason is we have all of these great tools for SDRs, BDRs living inside of HubSpot, kind of under this sales dropdown, right? But they're still, in essence, in different spots throughout the platform. So how do we bring it all together to make one central hub for our business development reps? And that's where the prospecting tool comes in. So we took a lot of feedback from current customers who are using HubSpot for sales acceleration. What do your BDRs need to make their day easier and increase the number of leads that you're following up with, reduce the amount of leakage in terms of leads that are not being followed up on? And this is what was produced as a product. So if I'm a BDR, this is probably where I'll live throughout the day. Every day I can check in on tasks that need to be completed. Maybe I want to see due today. Maybe I've got some overdue tasks. I see that today I've got a couple follow-ups, emails, calls that I want to complete. From here, I can launch right into that to-do to get it done like Doug showed earlier. And if I've got some overdue tasks, HubSpot's going to remind me of that as well. And I've actually got a tracker on the left-hand side to keep me up to date with my progress throughout the day. So I'm going to be checking back in here to make sure that I'm on top of those tasks. None of my leads are going unreached or neglected. Down at the bottom, I've also got my schedule for the day, so I can easily see what's upcoming. I've got those tasks here as well, got some demo prep, maybe outreach. And then here in my sequences, we've got any of those tasks that the sequence has picked up on. So just like Doug mentioned earlier, if I've got that automated sequence going, we don't want it to be automated forever, right? If somebody reaches back out to me, we're going to cut that sequence and then let the BDR know, hey, we got a fish on the hook, somebody is responding, so go ahead and reach out to them via call or email. So this is actually bringing together all these different tools, the sequences, meeting calendar, tasks, all of that is in one central hub, just making that prospecting life so much easier for our SDRs and BDRs. Cool. So that is prospecting. If you've got any questions about that, drop them in the chat. Doug and I will be watching the chat throughout this session.
Absolutely.
And then go ahead, Doug.
No. I was just confirming that point. And I just want to say that could you go back to the inbox piece a little bit more? I want to give everyone a real sense because I'm a little biased. I live in the CRM, but you're absolutely correct. You don't have to. You can do so much with HubSpot. So if you want your use case to be, look, I'm going to have everyone live in Salesforce, but I want to be able to do sales acceleration. Okay. You can do pretty much everything we've shown you right from your inbox. Let's just walk through. And if you want to put a couple of those examples together and also want to show them the sidecar, Mrudula, I call it the sidecar. I think its official name is the sidebar, or I don't know. I make up names as we go here. But so you showed the write an email for me. I just want to emphasize for everyone here, we have email templates, meetings, tasks, sequences. Hit that more button too, if you don't mind for a minute there. Okay. Those snippets, documents, heck, you can even throw in a payment link. Hey, Frank, wanted to reach out. It sounds like, what might be really good for you is our, exactly. Maybe it's our initial pre-assessment for $250. We'll put a sales solutions engineer on the discussion. You can do that. So this can be done by that BDR, SDR right from here. Let's take a look at then the sidebar. Oh, you've got the Vidyard recording. I mean, it's amazing, right? Email. The reason we're living in email is, at least in B2B, email is where it's at. That's where you're driving the vast majority of your high volume, high time consumption activity. Let's take a look at the sidecar or sidebar. Awesome. So everybody, I want you to understand, if you're living in Outlook, like a lot of our clients, you're going to see the exact same tool in Outlook. It just operates as an Outlook add-in. So what we're seeing here is, and you can go ahead and search for me, Mrudula. Let's just go, we'll use me as our dummy example. Okay. Oh, maybe I don't exist in your account. That's fine.
I never logged your email, but I can take
No, that's all right. We'll grab a person. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I thought I was important. Oh my gosh. Okay.
We'll go with one of our managers.
Exactly. So, the open in CRM, that would take us back to the actual HubSpot screens, but let's just focus on living in the inbox right now. So you can see you've got all these fields. Okay. Remember, I showed you those different sections in the HubSpot user interface. Now it's in your inbox. There's your timeline. Okay. You've got the timeline of recent activities. If there are tasks, by the way, you can create tasks around this contact right from here. So if you want to say to your AE, if you're an SDR and you're living in the inbox and you want to say to the AE, let's go ahead and, I want you to follow up with this person, you can send them a task right from here. Yes, let's take a look at that actions piece, Mrudula. That was awesome. Boom! I can place a call to them right from here. I can call them. I can email them. I can taskify them. I can even create a deal record. All of these things I'm able to do in my inbox, enroll them in a sequence. Send them a sales doc. Yeah, go ahead and let's just see what happens. I know you're not actually going to call them, but let's click that call button. All right. So all of it's possible in that inbox environment, right? Look at this. Boom. It sets up the HubSpot calling. You're ready to go. You click a button. Now you're placing that call. Okay. So you can literally live in the inbox. Okay. You can complete very sophisticated tasks either in the inbox, or it'll bring you right to the action screen in the HubSpot UI. And you're back in your inbox and you're rolling on. Okay. So it's a very low touch, high powered approach to sales enablement. As far as I'm concerned, this absolutely blows other sales enablement add-ons completely out of the water. And the other reason I think it's so far superior is what we're about to dig into. And Mrudula, I know you're ready to really rock and roll with this, which, how does it look to actually have all this stuff happening in HubSpot? But, my team, ultimately, their source of truth is the blue cloud. Let's go. Boom.
Awesome. So product update alert. Once again, this is a new and improved HubSpot embed visual force window that we've created for all of the Salesforce users. So in the situation where you've got SDRs, BDRs doing all of their sales acceleration inside of HubSpot, we're running prospecting, we've got leads in there. Ultimately, everything is going to get pushed to Salesforce using our existing integration, which you can install and download from our marketplace, so that your AEs who are working inside of Salesforce, inside that blue cloud, have that full picture of all the activity that's been done by the SDRs, how this lead came into our hands, and what we need to do next to reach out to them. So right here, if I were to go to any of my lead or contact pages, I'm able to see details from HubSpot. So first things first, I've got that timeline, right? We've got filtered activity here, so I can see exactly what I'm most interested in. Typically as an AE, I'm interested in meetings, notes, tasks, calls, emails, and conversations. We've got some marketing activity here as well, if you are ever interested in that. And there we go. I've got all my filtered activity coming from HubSpot in real time, so I know exactly what my BDR team has been up to. Over on the right-hand side, we've got similar to that sidecar that we were showing in the Gmail inbox, but this is going to show me all about this contact, his properties, what kind of industry he's in, when was he last contacted, and what's his LinkedIn URL if I want to go check that out. And he actually came through via a phone inquiry. So this is somebody who reached out to us, right? I've got all that great context on this lead. I can quickly check out his company. If I ever want to jump back into HubSpot, these are all actionable links, and I can view the full record in HubSpot as well. Any deals that might already be associated, typically as the AE, I'm going to kick off the deal here in Salesforce, but if there was one existing, I'd be able to review that as well. So that
Mrudula, I just want to interject real quickly here. I want to emphasize something. With the power of our integration, okay, we can configure and selectively determine how we want the information related between the two systems. So while we're looking at a lot of this information in the Visualforce window, you should also know that, like, the company, the title, all this information you see on the actual native information card inside Salesforce is probably also coming from HubSpot. So if you want to keep a segregated model where cold leads, and cold contacts that meet your ICP are in HubSpot, and then when an opportunity is identified, they move to Salesforce, it'll create the contact record in Salesforce. So we are moving data directly into your Salesforce system and providing additional context that may be specific to HubSpot. It's both. It's not either or, it's and.
Absolutely. And we're also prioritizing clean data, right? Because we've got inclusion lists that can basically take your hottest leads, your best leads, and push them into Salesforce. So instead of your AEs ending up with leads that might not have been worked quite enough, aren't quite hot enough, I'm only going to get the leads that are scoring high on that scale. So once I'm inside of Salesforce, I'm seeing the best and the brightest, and I know exactly who to reach out to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I'm getting more excited.
More.
I don't even live in Salesforce and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. And the great thing is it's so incredibly simple to set up. I actually set it up this morning. It took me probably 10 minutes, just put in a new Visualforce page. And here we go. We've got some workflows. Now, this might be of interest if your AEs do any kind of communication with your marketing team, maybe highlighting folks that would be interested in a webinar or further education about other product offerings. I can actually go ahead and add Chris Kane back into a marketing workflow or a sales workflow right from Salesforce, and then HubSpot's going to kick off that automation on its end. So nice full circle automation here. And then we've got some HubSpot properties. So if you really want to dive deeper into the contact, see some of that deal information, if a deal's already been created, I've got all of that robust content here. So closing the loop on your SDR to AE workflow.
That's just amazing. One of the things that I'm thinking about is what happens a lot of times. I hear this all the time. Our SDRs generate leads and hand them over to our AEs. And sometimes our AEs determine there's no immediate opportunity. So they stop working it and then it just dies. It's like, there goes 30% of our future business because we ignored all these people who expressed interest but didn't have a deal ready to close in the next 90 days. So it just dies. Here, 2 clicks, I can re-enroll them, or I can even just set a field, say not currently qualified for sales, whatever you want to call it. Boom, it can go back not only to the SDR, but if you were to use a HubSpot Marketing Hub, it could automatically generate, put them into a nurturing campaign to keep them going. Like, we don't have to let stuff just die. That's not the world we live in anymore. It's not one way. It's not down to the bottom of the funnel, and then if they disqualify out, that's the end. Your future customers are largely yesterday's unsold prospects. And if we ignore that, golly, we're making our lives too difficult. This literally closes the loop. We're centering. So we're operating on the assumption here that Salesforce is your central platform, your system of truth, and where your AEs are going to live, right? We can surround them with everything necessary to make sure that AE maximizes their success, whether it's SDR support happening either in HubSpot or in the hybrid model that we've talked about, or whether it's the marketing automation piece, which is a whole nother conversation. We did a webinar on that before. We can do one again. All these other components that optimize the AE's success, right? Today's success comes from a seamless relationship with their SDRs, and those SDRs having the right program feeding the AE. Their success tomorrow comes from not letting those disqualified opportunities just turn into dead contacts that we never talk to again. We're literally closing the bookends on those two sources of leakage, and doing it in a Salesforce-centered environment.
Yeah, that's a great point. So that is what I had planned out. Doug, shall I hand it back to you?
I mean, yeah, I think it's mic drop time. That was incredible.
Awesome.
Like, think about this, folks. If you didn't see that we've just blown the doors off of what you can do inside Salesforce, we've literally doubled the power of your Salesforce system inside Salesforce. Think of it this way. I think the folks over in San Francisco at headquarters at Salesforce just be rolling over in confusion. The reality is HubSpot is the secret sauce that Salesforce always should have had and never bothered to build. So we're giving you the secret sauce that you have been wanting and needing in your Salesforce system through the power of HubSpot. Now I'm gonna throw another thought on the table here as to like, why should we go down this road instead of going down the route of like the sales lofts and the outreach.ios. So this is gonna get a little bit of a technology argument, but I wanna make this very clear. The tools that are designed as traditional add-ons to Salesforce are not full-featured CRM platforms. Obviously, they are CRM extensions. And what we find is that in order for them to work, they're often creating additional objects or modifications to the data set, which I totally understand. And if I were doing it, I'd probably do the same thing. Okay. Do you remember how earlier Mrudula talked about the importance of clean data? One way that you protect the cleanliness of your data is by having a full CRM data structure underlying everything that you do. Okay. So, again, without getting too much into the IT weeds, the fact is HubSpot has a far more robust and structured engine to ensure that you have clean, comprehensive data because it's a true CRM platform. In fact, we even have a dedicated hub to bring the volume of that up to 11. For those of you who are 80s movie fans and just got that reference, that was from the movie Spinal Tap. Now I really aged myself. And so, we're turning the volume up to 11 here. We can protect the quality and consistency of your data because we have a tool called Operations Hub, which allows you to control the formatting, the integration, and the completeness of that data set. So literally, HubSpot is cleaning and protecting the quality of your Salesforce data. Boom! I mean, that's the trifecta. We're protecting your flank by making sure leads don't just die. We're feeding the machine by generating the best quality opportunities for your AEs or your outside teams to work. And through the power of Operations Hub, if you choose that as part of your stack, we're also protecting and cleaning and maintaining the quality of the data in your Salesforce system. I told you, this is literally giving you the tools that Salesforce never bothered to build. We're doing it for you. The final reason I think that you should seriously consider this approach is at some point there is a question, what do we have Salesforce for? And the best way to answer that question without having to make that decision today, because there are a lot of reasons to keep Salesforce. Typically, it's because of how it ties to all the rest of your infrastructure. Okay. We understand changing enterprise IT is not like it's not a lickety split decision. We get that. But by choosing HubSpot as the secret sauce to add to your Salesforce stack, you're also future-proofing your avenues of opportunity. So you can stay with Salesforce. Or if at some point you say, you know what, really, we're in love with HubSpot, where it's literally doing the things we originally bought Salesforce to do, but it's doing them better. And that's inside Salesforce. Imagine what we could do if we just used HubSpot. With the fact that we have this detailed integration toolkit, but guess what? You know how hard it is to bring you over? In most cases, obviously, there's an asterisk. If you've highly customized and bespoke configured your Salesforce, there's always work to do. But in a standard configuration, the migration consists of turning one system off and keeping the other one on because everything is being shared seamlessly. So you've future-proofed your future decision-making because you haven't written yourself into a corner. If you take the Sales Loft, Outreach.io, app exchange approach, you're just building tools on top of Salesforce. It makes sense in the short term, I get it, but it's a terrible strategy for the long term because you have no avenues for change. What you've done is you've collected all these additional things to try to make Salesforce do what you want it to do from the beginning, and you have no avenue for change in the future. Contrast that with the HubSpot approach. Everything is seamless and clean and open. You know exactly how the data is moving because we have an entire data modeling tool in the HubSpot platform. And in the future, if you decide to double down on Salesforce, HubSpot's going to be with you. If you decide you want to look at moving to HubSpot, you can make that decision without a lot of pain. It literally keeps all options on the table. So just something to think about. Remember, when you're making these kinds of strategic CRM decisions, you have to think about 3 kinds of layers to the cake. What's going to help my users? What's going to help my business? And what's going to protect my long-term IT investment and my IT strategy? Okay, 1, 2, and 3. And my belief, and I hope that we've conveyed just pieces of how powerful this is to you, is HubSpot knocks it out of the park on all 3. So I know we've got a couple of questions, and then there are a couple other things I know we want to quickly cover before we wrap. My good friend Chevy had a question, Mrudula, and you may have an answer to this. He is interested in knowing about task reminders. Is there a way to default them to be on instead of having to toggle them in the system? I think we can do that with workflows, but I figured I'd throw that question over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of digging in the background here.
Boom.
Just to see if we could, turn that on. This is what I do as a solutions engineer all day, every day.
Tell it right here, folks, the superstar. The superstar. I'm just the MC. The musician who makes the music is Mrudula. That's awesome. Great, Mrudula. Thank you. And also shout outs on that email, the AE plugin. By the way, Mrudula just gave you like barely a taste of what we can do with the AI tools in HubSpot. There are actually 2 distinct toolkits. One for marketers focused on content automation and an acceleration, and the other focused on the sales and CRM user, which she gave you just a little taste of. Okay. Enormously powerful, constantly in evolution, and literally native to HubSpot. People kept saying to me, it was amusing, when ChatGPT came out, everyone's like, hey, what are you going to do about ChatGPT? I'm like, yeah, just give us a few weeks. We'll have some updates on that. What are you going to do about Chat? Are you going to integrate with ChatGPT? Integrate. That's yesterday's news. How about just do it inside HubSpot natively? Okay. And that's what we did. That's what HubSpot did. So let me talk a little bit about 2 tools I didn't get a chance to briefly mention earlier. And then I'm going to hand it back to Mrudula as we get ready to wrap. So the tools that I wanted to mention that I think are really powerful for that SDR team and also for AEs. One of them is our calls function. I focused on making the dials, which is great. Okay. But there's a whole nother side to this, which is what do I do with that information? So we keep adding additional capabilities here. This is Alyssa. We have a lot of conversations. I mean, a lot of conversations. I have 100,000 call records in here. In HubSpot parlance, a call could be a Zoom meeting, a call could be a phone call, anything like that. Okay, so I'm actually going to take a look at, let's see here, whether we have a transcript available. Let's say yes. Okay, so we have automated transcripts for all of these records. Okay, you can see one of our SDRs has been busy at it, rocking and rolling. Okay, so I'll actually just take an example. I know these guys at SynchroPat. So here is the call. Here is the transcript, the activity history, the other information around that contact that's all linked together. In addition, by the way, you can select calls to do call reviews on, which I'm a huge fan of, and I know a lot of sales managers are. We've also got call analytics built right into the system. This is all standard reports. I didn't have to create any of this. Calls created, how many calls did we do? What are the totals by rep, our duration, what are the outcomes, calls made versus goal, call and meeting totals by type, call and meeting totals by rep, and team activity totals. Boom! It's right here. I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to go open Crystal Reports. I didn't even have to open HubSpot Reports. HubSpot has a world-class reporting platform. I didn't even have to bother with that. I didn't even have to use the tool that HubSpot created to allow me to do this because HubSpot already did it. Okay. So our call analytics and call management capabilities incredibly powerful, seamlessly integrated into the contact record. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about briefly is playbooks. To me, this is the A-team tool for when you're building salespeople into role. So if you're planning, I find that clients are in one of two categories. Either they're rapidly building a sales team, or they have a mature sales team and they know that those folks are going to retire. And they're like, particularly in a lot of mature B2B industries, I always say, what percentage of your sales team is over the age of 50? I'm 50, by the way, so I can ask that question. And it's like 70%. And okay, what are you going to do in the next 10 years, 5 years, heck, 3 years, when a lot of those folks are either going to roll off or they're going to ride into the sunset? Guess what? You can use the playbooks tool in HubSpot to create training and guidance tools with specific questions. Those questions can have guided answers. This actually allows you to give the SDR or the AE the tools they need to answer, to guide the conversation, and to not forget a critical step here. In addition, they can take notes while they're having the conversation. They can select a yes/no answer, or they can select from a drop-down menu. And this is mind-blowingly awesome. All of that data goes into the record. All of that data goes into the record. Let me say that again. All of that data goes into the record. So if one of the questions is what industry, and I just made that up as an example, okay, or challenges, you can have a list of, let's say, the 5 most common challenges, and they can pick from that list. And if it's another challenge that they want to add, they can always add those notes. Now that data not only goes into the record, but it can be used to drive automations, lead scoring, deal analysis, all of that. So we can say the challenges that this prospect is having, when you look at that, it matches the use case that we know increases the close rates on the deals because we rock at solving that problem. Great. So automatically now high prioritize this opportunity, hand it to a senior AE. We can run all that automation against what's happening in the playbook. So now we're doing 2 amazing things. It's like 2 birds, 1 stone. We're optimizing the ability to help enable and train and protect your newer, shorter term people who are on the team and are trying to get the job done right. We can do that with them. And if you're a Vince Lombardi fan in the football world, he always started every preseason in his first training meeting. He always said, gentlemen, this is a football. So let me emphasize, it never hurts to train on the basics. Every salesperson, whether they've been in the business 20 years or 20 days, benefits from the playbooks tool. And that second thing that we're doing, we're allowing that data to feed right into automation, scoring, prioritization, and action. It doesn't get easier than that. This is all native functionality in the HubSpot platform. Talk about sales acceleration. Talk about sales enablement. Boom. All right. We have time for a question or 2 before we wrap today. I see Mrudula is busy solving technology problems and providing strategic guidance and training in the chat. So we need to have a whole nother workshop where we just have you come back and we'll just do a hackathon on, most challenging questions customers ask.
Love that.
So if you have a question, shout it out in the Q&A, throw it in the chat. We're watching both. No particular worries there. I'm going to ask one more question myself. Mrudula, in your experience, I alluded to Operations Hub as a secret weapon to maintain data quality and, of course, help protect that Salesforce system as well, since we're feeding into it. What is, in your opinion, the number 1 secret weapon in HubSpot Operations Hub for the kind of use cases we've talked about today?
This is such a great question. I am a huge fan of Operations Hub Professional and Enterprise because they bring in a lot of data formatting, data quality tools that you haven't seen in the past. And it also opens up the opportunity for us to actually customize the way we share data with other systems, specifically through webhooks and also writing custom code if we want a really customized approach to how that data is shared. And so one of my favorite tools is actually something really simple. It's a workflow that incorporates formatting data actions. So let's say I want every first name, first letter capitalized, the rest lowercase. I can enforce that in my CRM by setting up automation. I can have all of the states, email addresses, physical addresses formatted a particular way. Without any code, this is actually a no-code workflow that I'm describing here, even though you do have the option to do custom code. So just being able to enforce clean data across the platform is so helpful.
Let me tell you, in my experience, the number of CRM systems that I've seen when we start our process that are clean like that from the beginning, a big goose egg, folks. 100% of clients have that challenge. 100%. We've got the solution for it. I know we're at time. Mrudula, thank you so much. This was incredible.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It was so
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. You brought so much energy and so much information and insight. Thank you so kindly. Thank you to our attendees. Look for our invite for next month's webinar. We run these every month, and we're always exploring how to help you generate more sales and more success for your clients and your business through the power of HubSpot. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day and week. Thanks again, Mrudula, my friend. Talk soon.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.